Hi, I'm Steph Strickland with GeekWire Studios, host of Does Compute, the podcast where we delve into the latest innovations in computer science with the help of experts from Carnegie Mellon University School of Computer Science. I would like to introduce you right now to Kiran Bhat, a distinguished alumnus of CMU, where he earned his Ph.D. in robotics from the School of Computer Science in 2004. Here's the thing. He is currently the Senior Technical Director of Engineering at Roblox and the co-founder of Loom AI. We'll talk about both of those things and how they interplay with each other. He focuses on building core technologies for expressive 3D avatars. I'm not done with his introduction. Listen to this. Previously, he worked for George Lucas at Industrial Light and Magic on facial capture technology, where his work earned him an Academy Award. We're talking the Hulk. We're talking Grand Moff Tarkin. You get the idea. His academic journey at CMU laid the foundation for this remarkable career. Kiran, thank you so much for making the time to speak to me today.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
I want to talk about that journey. Can you walk me through how you start as a robotics PhD all the way to essentially getting an Academy Award?
Oh, that was a 10-year journey in the making. The Robotics Institute at CMU. I'll start from there. It's a really unique place. I did my PhD there, and what I found really amazing was the caliber of the faculty and the students, and it sets you up for all, for industry in a way that is really unique. And so at CMU, I worked in computer graphics, and part of what got me into computer graphics was an internship at ILM. So the journey began at CMU through ILM, and after my PhD, I went back to ILM all the way to the Academy Award. So that's in a nutshell the journey of how it all happened.
That is something when I've spoken to professors and people doing some really significant research at CMU is both the theoretical knowledge, the deep learning, and then the academic pursuits. And I think your testimony to how that works, because it was an internship that really helped you establish your footing there. When you were working at ILM, tell me a little bit about what you were working on there, what problems you were trying to solve.
Yeah. So back to that internship, the reason why I got that internship was actually because of some pioneering work from CMU. So CMU has always been a leader in computer vision and AI and robotics. And when ILM was trying to figure out how to set up their camera match move process, which this is the process where you get to solve for where the camera is in a virtual scene so that you can put a digital Yoda next to a live action actor. And so that process is called camera match move. And the process of figuring out the geometry of a world and the camera that was capturing it was something that CMU had figured out. Takeo Kanade's group had figured out in the late 90s. It was called structure from motion. We had some pioneering papers from CMU. So when ILM was trying to figure out how to do that in production in the real world for Hollywood, they reached out to a number of professors, including Marshall from CMU. And that was the internship journey. I applied for it, I got in, and so that was the first project. And I think it's a direct consequence of the work from CMU and the fact that I was at CMU that got me that internship. So at ILM, the interesting thing was the techniques that we had developed in academia were the foundations of what industry was evaluating. But the industry constraints were very different from what was being looked at in the academic world. For example, if you look at what computer vision researchers do, they make some assumptions about the camera, the world, so that they can mathematically model these problems. But in the real world, you have a director who uses this really complex lens and these explosions and things about lighting that changes as per an aesthetic sense. Some of those assumptions don't hold. So you have to come up with solutions that are inspired by an academia, research in academia, but then are tailored to the real world problem. So in some sense, the industry experience is what kind of grounds the academic work. And what I found very interesting at a place like ILM was there's this wealth of data and a treasure trove of problems that are there that was waiting to be solved. And computer vision, for example, was a perfect solution for a lot of the problems. It was very hard, but you could at least look at 20 problems in front of you where if you solved it, you could make a direct impact.
Tell me a little bit about some of the challenges and then the successes that came as a result of that with the work you did at ILM. I'm thinking about, AI, or machine learned cloth, right? Things that you're trying to develop that our human eyes and our intellect understand to be one thing, and you've got to translate it so that it comes back to us on the screen appropriately. Reading Mark Ruffalo's expressions in the Hulk. Tell me a little bit about those challenges. They seem simple. They are not, and we as humans can spot it right away, even if we can't articulate why we don't like it.
That's right. Yeah. So it's a really important point. I think what makes CGI movies work effectively is because the practitioners who put together these movies really understand how to capture subtlety in nature, and how light bounces off your face, how you come through micro expressions, how to make sure that things don't float off in the air, how to make sure that the shadows are cast correctly. So there's the illusion of or a successful illusion of a character or a prop in a movie is actually a lot of small but very clever innovations that are strung together, right? So back to the work that I did. Again, going back all the way to the internship, what I realized at the internship was that some of the things that we take for granted, like for example, your dress being of a certain material and moving a certain way, is not that straightforward when you want to simulate it in a computer, and especially if you want to put it in a big screen, right? You want things to look and feel natural, the materials to come out, and ILM was struggling with that, and everybody in the industry in computer graphics was struggling with that, and so some of the pioneering work in simulations, numerical simulations for modeling clothing, was being worked on at that point in time, both in the industry and places like CMU. And a challenge there was, okay, now you have a way to simulate clothing, but how do you make it match like a real world clothing? So that problem of estimating how to tune these simulations to match a specific aesthetic that a director wants was still an open challenge. And what ILM would do is they would throw these really skilled animators into the problem, and these animators would be spending a lot of time tweaking the parameters to get just the right aesthetic. So when I looked at it, my question was, hey, what if we just look at video or real world observations of these phenomenon that we are trying to mimic to look real? The outcome has to look real. So why not just try to capture reality and model these simulations to match reality? So that was sort of the inspiration from the internship, which I brought back to PhD. That's what I did my thesis on. And subsequently, when I went back to ILM, it was again a similar thread where, instead of now trying to match clothing and sort of physical objects, the bar was a little higher, which was, they said, okay, can you now try to see if we can match this with digital characters, with faces? Can we get faces to match what a real actor who is puppeteering the character would do, right? So until that point of time, it was really hard to get the soul of the character into it by just pure animation. But the actors are able to bring that soul into characters, both live action as well as CGI, and so the missing step there was, um, can you reproduce what the actor did faithfully? Can you capture it and then translate it and play it back on a character? So that was the challenge I was looking at.
So is the soul, the experience of someone's nuance and face, it is mathematical mapping. How interesting it is,
Uh,
right? It's a computational problem.
the I think the challenge, it's exactly right. I think it is a mathematical problem in that you want to capture it first. Like if you can faithfully capture what a person does, then then it becomes the remapping it to a character, maybe exaggerating it, is a much easier problem, because anytime you try to exaggerate and it doesn't go well, you're like, okay, what's the ground truth? Can I go back to the ground truth? What did the actor actually do as seen through the lens of this character, right? So that ability to faithfully capture the nuances of a performance, especially on the face, was I think was our sort of the North Star that we were going after. And we had successfully done that for clothing and for props and for cameras, so it felt like it's possible, but it turned out to be a really, really hard problem.
I've often found that the things that sound deceptively simple are incredibly complicated, which is why it's so great to see the work that CMU is doing that then sort of gets cast out into the real world. As we're talking about this, it sounds expensive. And I'm going somewhere with this. It's an
Mhm.
entire studio team. It's the best and brightest names in the industry all coming together. And there are dozens upon dozens of people doing this. That's where you come in. Tell me a little bit about Loom AI and what you were attempting to do in this space at that time.
Yeah, exactly. You nailed it, right? There was to produce a digital asset which has the fidelity of what is required for the big screen, uh, is millions of dollars spent on every single asset, the hero assets, both in terms of human labor as well as in terms of rendering and computational costs that go into producing these assets. So what we realized, or what I realized at that point in time, was the magic of what you see as a finished product, that you and I can engage with in a big screen, comes from two factors. One is the digital asset that you see on the scene that is being rendered is, so the production of that is a big effort. And then the second thing is the actor, like the soul of the actor is what makes this character come to life. So both of these are very critical pieces. And what we were wondering out loud was, hey, what if the aspect of creating these assets is simplified, and made into made accessible to many more people? Then maybe a lot more people can actually bring themselves online, with their virtual identities that truly capture who they are, right? So that was the sort of the genesis of Loom AI. And we always believed that the quality bar has to be high enough that it captures your identity faithfully. And at that point in time, the ability to produce this, on a mobile device was also really exciting for us, because now you can bring this technology to everybody who has a phone. And so all of that sort of led us to a path where we decided to go with the slightly stylized characters. We felt that stylized characters are more forgiving in terms of the quality of the asset, but then you still have a lot of emotional connection to the characters because you built it. And it's those characters that are coming to life through your voice, through your personality. So that was sort of the transition away from Hollywood to the startup world.
And for you, having already worked in the space from a Hollywood perspective and your research is one thing. But for those of us on the backside of that, to have this available to us on our phone, I can still fondly remember the excitement. We'd all stand around and sort of send each other messages, and we were exploring this world without any real understanding of how much it took to get there. So it's fascinating to have this discussion with you also, because you went from a big corporate experience effectively at the studio
Right.
level down to the granular hard work of a startup where your whole focus has to shift to, funding rounds and just making sure you can keep the lights on at
That's
the
right.
end of the month and then back again. Was it the partnerships then with mobile that helped make sure that you guys could grow into where you are now? What was the success story there?
Yeah, so the two things. So first thing is I was really fortunate to have an incredible co-founder. This was a classmate of mine from undergrad. He was at DreamWorks. I was at ILM. So we had been in touch for a long time, and we knew that the timing was right to do something. To bring some of the magic that we had created or helped create for the big screen to a startup like enterprise that will allow us to distribute it to the masses. So that was one. It's really critical to have an amazing co-founder, because the journey is really hard. As you said, going from a corporate, somewhat safe space where you can do research and work on products to something like raw real world without much of a structure is a transition and a change. What really helped was when we launched the company. We had some really early success, early press, especially in the VR space. At that point in time, Memoji came out. Apple launched the Memoji, and there was a big rush in the mobile space, especially in the Android world, to come up with a credible competitor to the Memoji. So funnily, Samsung reached out to us as an option to build their stack for all kinds of digital, personalized avatars on Samsung, the Samsung range of products. So that's what we landed up doing. So even though we started out with VR and sort of immersive 3D spaces, we landed up focusing a lot of our energy into mobile. But it felt right because the reason we started the company was to get scale. And even though it felt like, okay, well, do you need this hardcore technology for mobile? The answer was yes. This hardcore technology need to be repackaged such that it runs much quicker, and that opened up a huge area of R&D for us, and that's where we spent the next few years, developing technologies, building AI based tracking tools, building the camera stack, building voice based animations, and building out the entire avatar stack before we got acquired by Roblox.
But also bringing it then to everyone who has a phone. You pick
That's right.
because it was mobile first. You did what you set out to do, which was to make this more accessible. You really can't get much more accessible than that in the
Mhm.
space that you're working in. So you touched on exactly where I was going next. Now, knocking on your door is Roblox. Explain to me how that came about. They see this work that you're doing in the mobile space, and the company executives reach out to you for an acquisition. What happened next?
Yeah, so this happened during the COVID time. So what had happened was in 2020 we decided to put out a couple of apps that outside the mobile world for the PC, which were connected to Zoom and other video conferencing solutions, where people were going through a lot of Zoom fatigue, and they wanted a playful avatar representation in Zoom. And so we had spent a little bit of time building these mobile apps for avatar creation that you can bring into Zoom. And the Roblox execs had been in touch with us even before 2020. And so we knew about them, they knew about us. But when during the pandemic, everyone had a chance to really experience what we call the Lumi avatars. We got picked up by New York Times. There was a lot of interest, like a grassroots interest from the education community. Teachers were using it. Even some. I know that there was some drama, entire plays being done with the Loomies in the UK. So there was it was gaining traction as a viable medium for people to use instead of their live videos. But at that point of time, Roblox was also growing really fast, and Roblox has a lot of amazing technology, sort of game engine technology that allows you to bring a lot of people together. And even at that COVID time, Roblox also seeing a huge growth in people trying to communicate with each other in a 3D platform. So when they approached us, it was kind of interesting because we were building all these tools in 3D. The avatars and the tracking was all 3D, but then we were using 2D, Zoom or emoji type mediums to communicate with avatars. And then here is a actual 3D platform that is trying to do the same thing. And so when they came to us, it felt like a really natural fit for us, and that's what happened.
I'm very familiar with Roblox because I have a 15-year-old daughter. So certainly it has been a part of our lives, digitally speaking. I recognize that it feels like a full circle moment for you, but given that you've now switched gears into that gaming space, what are you trying to bring to the team? What are the important salient points for people who are maybe just familiar with it from a gaming experience standpoint, as opposed to watching something that's Academy Award worthy on the screen?
Right. So at Roblox we had two challenges. One is we want, as part of the acquisition, we wanted to get all the technology that we had built into the platform. That was the main reason for getting acquired. We wanted to get the best product market fit in 3D. So the team, Loom AI team, we became a group in Roblox, and our mandate was to get the tech in, and that involved us building a bunch of core pieces within the platform to build out the avatar stack so that it's ready for a lot of the tracking technology that we had built at Roblox at Loom AI. And so that took us a bunch of time to get both the pieces to really talk to each other. But the setup was really well done in that Roblox basically gave us a lot of room to figure out the best long-term strategy for integration so that the platform grows along with the sort of the AI technology for animation. So now, 4 years after the acquisition, all of the pieces that we had built at Loom has been fully integrated. It's in front of millions of users. Whoever plays Roblox and has a camera, they can turn on the camera. They can use tracking. They can turn off the camera and just use voice, and the animations on the avatar are created automatically with the technology that we had built in the startup. So it was very satisfying to have gotten that into the system and in front of users, and it's almost like a building block of this 3D platform. Avatars are a core piece. The ability to communicate with avatars is another core piece, and so we are constantly improving that tech. But what I have done personally is, after integrating all the tech, I've gone on to do a number of other bigger AI initiatives across the company, targeting safety and creation. So we had a GD talk at the Game Developer Conference in San Francisco earlier this year, talking about voice safety and how we use AI to basically detect violations of voice safety on the platform. And to be able to do something like that, like this at Roblox scale, is really challenging. And that's where AI is, it truly shines, because it can understand the context of what someone is trying to say, not just words. It can understand the tone, and it can understand the nuances if someone is getting bullied, or so there are things that are really hard to do, but with the modern AI techniques, we have a fighting chance. And I think we have deployed a number of techniques on the platform to keep it safe. So that's one area that I've transitioned to. The other thing is what we also announced recently. We built a 3D foundation model, which essentially allows the large language models, which are really good with text and images, to now start reasoning in 3D. Because we are a 3D platform. Now we want to be able to reason and create natively in 3D. So that's another big initiative that we started last year, and I've been leading that. And now I think we recently launched that on the platform.
It's probably premature for me to ask if you can give me an example of how this would work. Is that something you can discuss at this point?
Yeah, I can. What we've done is something called in-experience creation. So imagine you are you are a creator, and you want right now the way gaming works is the creator of the platform of the game, makes a world what they want you to play, and then they have some puzzles and and whatever challenges, and all the content, the gameplay logic and everything is predetermined, right? So as a user, we jump into an experience, and you play the experience as imagined by the creator. But what this allows you, this inexperienced AI based creation allows you to do is, now you can as a creator, you can allow your users to build out the world as part of the game. And maybe if the users are building new puzzle levels, or users are building new content, and building content in 3D is just exceptionally hard. So the ability for someone to type an idea and produce a 3D object that feels integrated into a real experience, that's the big unlock here. And so if you think of so this can go in many different ways, open worlds and such, but we feel like this is the first step in that journey.
I also want to say the mom in me really appreciates the dedication to safety and usage within the platform itself. What's interesting to me when we talk about this is you went from a focus on the most realistic depiction of people into an aspect where we're choosing to display ourselves with a 3D avatar that fits who we want to be in the moment, but really doesn't look like what you created on the screen. How do you view avatar creation and our human connection to these characters, these avatars now?
What happened, and this we learned this through a long journey through Loom AI as well, is the minute you tell people that, hey, this is your avatar, they don't like it. They're like, okay, I want to make it, right? So the personalization aspect of it is just probably the most important thing with digital identity. You want to basically be able to decide what you want, what your avatar should be. And even in the case of Memoji, right? The Memoji gives you a set of templates, and you can select from one of those templates. You can personalize it, but still, you still are in that mold of what somebody at Apple, or somebody at Samsung, wherever, right, decided what you should be, right? And I think what generative AI allows you to do is it really allows you to break that. It's like, hey, I want to be this, whatever octopus with I don't know, with a cap that is very different from what somebody would have imagined, right? So that unlimited creativity while being safe, right? We take safety very seriously. So creativity while being safe is effectively what generative AI unlocks. Now, the problem with that is, while it's amazing for the end user, the builder of the technology has to make sure that this octopus version of my avatar is still able to talk, is still able to move, is still able to interact with objects. So all the aspects of what you would think with a templatized avatar should still apply with what you can create completely from scratch. So the technical challenge is much, much harder. But if we can do this successfully, then it just opens up like infinite possibilities for personalization and gameplay. And so you can imagine that a creator of a level can set some constraints on what your avatars could be. Maybe you're in a game where everyone is a cat. You can be as crazy a cat you want to be, but still you have to be a cat. So you can put a creator can put constraints, but then the users get to be much more free in what they can do.
So to that end, when you talk about infinite possibilities in the space in general, so not something specifically that R&D Roblox is
Hmm.
chasing, but what gets you really excited in the space looking, even 5 years down the future? 10 years is too far. We have no idea where we're headed. But let's just go with something more manageable like 5 years.
Yeah.
What are you excited about?
Yeah. What I'm really excited about is this notion of emotional fidelity that comes into these characters when people can build them people can build it themselves from scratch and can train its behavior and make it personalized, give it their voice, give it their movement, their behavior. So the concept of identity being fully open in the virtual world is really the dream. And the that's one part of the dream. The larger dream is, okay, well, the world should also be infinitely open and creative. And so what I feel is that we would start with worlds that are playable, that you and I can build very quickly. We are not limited to tools that we know. We are limited to what we can think. So it just opens up the bar for much more interesting content. Again, that is safe. And then if 3D creation and consumption becomes just as easy as photographs or video that you are able to share, it just opens up a completely new set of possibilities. And the reason I say that is because connecting in 3D is fundamentally closer to how we as humans connect in the real world. So if you go and play a level together while listening to music, the memories are much stronger. You get to remember that because you were there, right? And whereas listening to a song on in a traditional way. So the aspect of 3D and the aspect of being in the space together with people that you enjoy being together with, so that the connectivity plus 3D makes it a very exciting space to do and build.
They've studied it psychologically speaking, where small challenges, gameplay can really bond a team quite quickly. So I find the idea of the way you described it of getting together for gameplay in a 3D space as a bonding experience, bringing that emotional fidelity to it, is fascinating. What is the best part about your job?
Can I give you two answers?
Please.
Okay. The first answer is just interacting with the team. It's a group of incredible scientists, engineers, product folks, leaders, and many of them are from CMU. And that's just really exciting, just to be around these high caliber intellectual folks that you learn from every day. That's super exciting. The second is, I think, the scope of what we are building. It is a unlock that we think is going to have implications in many areas beyond gaming. So the rapid progress of AI, especially with 3D, it's going to be a game changer in many industries. And we are building one piece of the puzzle. The community is building a lot of other pieces. We are open sourcing that, the work that we have done. So together as a community, I think the AI community is just amazing, especially the open source community. So that also brings a lot of excitement in what we do day to day.
Changing the world one gameplay at a time.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Karen, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with me.
Oh, this has been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Everyone, you've been listening to Does Compute, the podcast where we examine how computer science builds useful stuff that works and is a lot of fun. Thanks so much for joining us, everyone. I'm Steph Strickland with GeekWire Studios.